Hello, I'm Christopher Lee Power. I'm an actor and director. Now, a year ago, my charity, the Power Foundation for Young People, were given funding to put on a play. I decided on William Shakespeare's magical romantic comedy, A Midsummer Night's Dream. I came across Isabelle Ryder, who is a fantastic composer, and we talked for weeks, and the musical score was absolutely brilliant.
The prologue. This was Christopher's idea to have Elsie and Francis on, out in the woods, looking for fairies and chatting about fairies.
As a director, I was inspired by a story called The Cottingley Fairies. And after talking to my wife, who was my production manager, Pauline, we decided, well, let's do 1912 right through to the 1920s.
There's a little bit of a Vaughan Williams feel going on. And also I wanted to create something rustic. And for the mechanicals, these are the tradesmen who give the comedy play within the comedy play. What Christopher wanted for this was something upbeat, a bit chaotic and energetic. So what I decided to do was give the left hand an ostinato, so in other words a repeating pattern that goes round and round. And this represents the tradesmen's jobs that they've been doing for years. And then against this, in the right hand, something a bit more exploratory, a bit more them pushing outside of their comfort zone, having a bit of fun. And then you put the two together and they create this slightly jazzy energy which represents the fun of these characters. Now there's a scene early on in the play where Moth comes on, and Christopher wanted Moth and Puck on stage before they start talking, just messing around in the woods, and popping in and out of trees, darting around and that sort of thing. Now, interestingly, that same theme that I've just hummed, that comes back a bit later in the play when Titania is sleeping. It's now lower down on the piano. It's more measured, more mellow. When Oberon and Titania first come on, this was an interesting one. This was the only piece that I had to rewrite. So when they come on, they are having a lover's tiff at the time. And the first thing that Oberon says to Titania is, "Ill met by moonlight, Titania." So I seized on the word moonlight, and I thought I'd be clever and try and borrow a little bit of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, a little bit derivative, and I thought, no, I've got to have another go at that. Need to convey angst, a little bit of torment. So I retained the key, C sharp minor, from the original Moonlight, and I kept some broken chord figuration. There's metric irregularities as well. This is the real piano version. With how it turned out in the end, so I'm glad I did it again. It's actually my favourite musical piece from the whole production. And then a bit later on in the play, that same music is used again, but this time in an underscore version. And that's when Oberon is giving his "I know a bank" speech. I didn't want it to get in the way of the speaking, so I've taken the same harmonies, but just set them up in a chordal rhythm, the slight syncopation between the hands. Titania at one point falls in love with Bottom. Of course he has his ass's head on at the time. Oops. And she's been flirting with him and she wants to lead him off. So I created a seductive bit of music, and it has this interval of a third which you hear in several pieces throughout the play. There's a scene in the play where Puck is in his absolute element, because what he's doing, he's leading the four lovers through the forest, but they don't know that it's him. They can't see him and they don't realise it's him. They think that he is one of the other lovers. The opening words that Puck says are, up and down, I will lead them up and down. You can tell I'm not an actor. So in the music, there's all this up and down. And then harmonically, I chose to use the whole tone scale for this. This is a device that Debussy used a lot, and Debussy is one of my favourite piano composers. And it gives that sense of drifting. Thisbe's speech. Actually, this is a favourite of mine, and the reason is because it was the first item that I wrote. You know, sometimes you look out and a piece just comes out fully formed. This was one of those pieces. So it has sort of cluster harmonies in each hand. It's very slow paced, so the clusters are very gentle on the ear, but they give it that sense of poignancy, which the director asked for something moving. So even though this is the comedy play within a comedy play, this is the moment where Thisbe takes her leave of this world. So to sum up, I've had an absolute brilliant time writing the music for this production. Thank you again, Power Foundation for Young People, for inviting me to write that music.
I'm pleased to say that our A Midsummer Night's Dream was a success with a standing ovation. And Isabelle Ryder is going to release her new album, Midsummer Preludes. And I'm looking forward to hearing that. And I hope you enjoy her beautiful, magical, powerful musical score.